Hi guys, this is R.A. Sweeney. We are going to be starting the Shoot of Jesse here in just a few days, and so I wanted to talk about some statements that I make at the beginning of the book on day one. The first thing I wanted to address is I talk about the Hebrew word that we translate as in the beginning. And what I say there is that it doesn't necessarily mean that this is the first thing that's ever happened. So the Hebrew word is breshit, which you see people talking about all the time. I just had a friend of mine send me a video of somebody making up some shenanigans about the word. There's a lot that people do with that word, but literally at its root, it's coming from the word rosh, which is head. So the way I translate that word breshit very, very, very literally is at the head place, which I translate it like in my mind when I translate it, I start thinking of like a trailhead. There's wilderness all over. You probably drove to get here, but this is the head of the trail. Or I think of like headwaters. This is where things spring up. It's not the originator of the water. It's just this is where the waters start pooling into a stream. And so the reason I bring this up is because it's a super controversial idea in our culture where there's a whole group of people who are just like, if you don't believe this is the first thing that ever happened ever, you're going straight to hell. And I'm being a little exaggerative there, but I feel like that's kind of where we are as a culture. And yes, it could be that. It could be this is the first thing that ever happened, but it does not say that. There is nothing about the word breshit that means that nothing else ever happened before. In fact, throughout the Hebrew scriptures, there's a lot of places where it says breshit, and it's not talking about the first thing ever. You'll see it with prophecies. You'll see it with, stories of different people. It's saying like, let's pick up here. This is the start of where we're telling this story. It's that sort of idea of this is where I'm going to start my story. And so I didn't bring it up to be controversial in the book. I didn't bring it up to say, hey, if you think this is the first thing ever, you're absolutely wrong. In fact, I say it could mean that. But I didn't want to be starting out with picking one camp or the other because it's not doing that. The story doesn't say you need to believe it's this way or that way. So I didn't want mine to do either. And I hope that it helps soften some of that controversy so that people who read this in different ways, because it's vague, it could mean either way. I want us to be able to come together and worship and be a united body together rather than fighting over something that to me and to most scholars is not clear in the actual word choice. So just wanted to mention that a little bit and hope it's a blessing as we dive into the Shoot of Jesse here in a few days. Thanks, everyone.